Yes, we have more Runic Plunder Patrol, Earth Machine, and Hero for you today. Don't be like the 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more Isles content. We're going to be looking at the breakdown here for the Golburn Comic Con breakdown that I got sent to me out of Australia here. Now, the reason why I'm covering this is I was very happy to see how this pie chart looked. You have a very, very large spread of things, and you're without a lot of the standard metagame here. You don't have Sprite, you don't have, no, you do have Sprite. You don't have Cash Tira, money, dollar bills, and you don't have Despia plaguing this. This actually kind of opens up the door to what can some of these rogue decks actually do, you know? What are the big contenders actually going to be here? Well, Sword Soul actually ended up winning this event. I'm not surprised. If you kind of cut back a lot of the vastness of the more heavy hitters in the format, Sword Soul is one of the things that does kind of bump up. We also had Drytron. Oh, I did lie. We did have Branded here. I was hiding in the corner there. I see you, you little snake. We also have Sprite, so you do have two very standard metagame contenders. But your rogue here is always what intrigues me most. We had Runic Plunder Patrol. That deck has been doing some very interestingly weird things as of late. You also had Dark World. Dark World is shaped up to be a very interesting rogue deck. And if you don't know what you're doing against Dark World, or Dark World just does the Dark World thing of opening up on the high roll, I mean, going through a 4 or 5 round tournament with Dark World, it's like Odotic. I would always use my example back in the day. You hit the high roll, you're cruise controlling. It's a good day. We also had Earth Machine, which is one of the first times I've seen Earth Machine in quite some time here, actually getting a pretty big W. I'm actually very intrigued with that. And we also had a hero player out here. And that's right. Actually getting the sport off. Wake up your elemental hero. Doing some work. So, overall, I like the pie chart. Looks fantastic. A lot of diversity. It's what you want to see in a bit. Let's pass on over those top deck lists. Don't be like 30% of you that have not... just kidding. You already got that earlier. All right, so we're going to be digging on in to our top cut here. And yes, our first list is actually going to be Sword Soul here, showcasing... Well, the first thing that catches my eye is the anti-scam fragrance down here. Anti-spell fragrance being a huge deterrence on the opponent. Trust me when I say this. The fact that this deck gets away with some of the more BS things in the room. Just the fact that you're like, oh, hey, you're trying to break my board? Go ahead and anti-spell you. Haha. Good luck. We are playing the Water Tenyi, which is fine. And then, of course, the giant space rock in the sky to clean up a lot of the metagame problems. And, of course, evenly matched down here. Do the job. We are not playing the Ice Jade Synchro. I know a lot of people really like the Ice Jade Synchro on this deck. It did kind of stick around for like a week or two at the very beginning of its life, but it has long since kind of faded out of the environment. So, kind of interesting to say the least, but that's kind of what we're looking at here. Next up here is Drytron. Wow. Drytron pulled off some pretty big success here. Yes, we are playing Choju of the Trillion Hands. Choju is stuck around as like the mainstay in this deck because, I mean, on summon, you get to go ahead and search. Alright, that's fine. I'll search for my monster and my ritual monster. And search for a Ben 10 here. This build is not playing Lancia in the main. That's a first. I'm used to seeing one Lancia in a lot of these lists, but okay. Standard Dark Roll no mores for board breaking. That's fine. I see that we are playing the Magi Bateau Buster here with the unlocking, so you can set up the negate. That's so good. And we are playing, of course, the Vanities Roller. The fact that you can just deploy all of these little Drytrons here as floaters and then go ahead and step on into the Vanities Rollers is incredibly not fun. And you can board break your opponent here with Lava Golems. Seems incredibly good to me. I see absolutely nothing wrong with this. Standard Drytron, pretty standard. Next up here is... What? Are we in a time capsule here? This is Predaplant Despia. Where in the world have you been all of my life? I have missed this deck so much. Predipractice is so good. You know, also Predaplanting, absolutely amazing. This deck fell off very, very hard because there were a lot of other variations here, but it looks like we got the chance to kind of step back into the time capsule here and pull this out. We're also playing Keeper of Dragon Magic here to add polymerization, or a normal fusion spell, or a fusion normal spell from your deck to your hand. you can search for this card, which gives you access to this card, which gives you access to everything else in your deck. I love it here. All right, this deck is, this is so cool to actually see this back and actually working. Next up here is our Sprite deck. Okay, we are playing the Cyberse Gadget. I have seen Cyberse Gadget actually showing up a little bit. What's this? Rank up Magic Quick Chaos. Target one number exceed monster you control, except a number C monster. Summon one monster from your extra deck, one number C monster with the same number as the target, but one rank higher. They're making the King Overfiend here, just because once per turn you attach one material from this card, the target one face monster loses 100 attack, and then blah blah blah. When this card has the Gym Buster, it gains the effect. Effect monster opponent controls cannot activate their effects. Congratulations. You can actually quick effect rank up into the King Overfiend here, and then proceed to laugh at your opponent all the way to the bank. That is absolutely hilarious. I can't tell you, a lot of decks are in the Sprite department that are actually considering doing that. That's great. Next up here is our Plunder Patrol Runic deck. Now, full disclaimer here, I mean, you're setting up draw power, like forms of negates down here through the Plunder Patrol cards. And then the rest of the deck is consistent draw power through the Runic cards while you're just disrupting your opponent. That's kind of what the experience is with this deck, is you just kind of start snowballing the advantage train on your opponent while using the Plunder Patrol stuff as a consistent backing for the deck. Is this some crazy deck that requires a huge amount of IQ to play? I don't personally think so. I think that a lot of the game plan for this deck is quite honestly straightforward. It's just you need to acquire Runic cards, and your Plunder Patrol core is kind of cheap. Side deck is very, very standard, I feel like. Yeah, there's nothing in here I would really want to change. The one evenly is a little bit off, but I suppose that's fine. Next up here, we have our Dark World list. You know, I do like the fact that I would want to play more than one Cerulean, I feel like. I know it's not correct, but Cerulean's a hilarious card. I do also like the fact that this deck is getting away with playing Lava Golems. It's also a Fiend, doesn't really conflict with anything in life. And, of course, you can actually number 100 OTK your opponent. I wish I saw more lists that actually played the number 100 OTK, because I think that the number 100 OTK is something that you do want to see in this deck. But a lot of these Dark World decks just opt to not include it, or I guess they just don't want to dedicate the slots to the Hope Harbinger Jagoublion. But alas, I think that that's a very standard thing that you need to see in here. Because if you can take a cheap OTK against your opponent, why wouldn't you? Alright, you just got to get 2 level 8s on the field, and I don't see an issue with that whatsoever with this deck. Maybe there is, but I don't think it's an issue. Next up here, we have our Earth Machine deck. I still think getting a 4,600 attack point monster on the field is pretty good, but I also think that the issue with this deck is if you get Cashed Herod, you walk away and you cry. This duelist has been sphere moded so much that they started siding the Winged Dragon Raw. You know, you do know that when the format has too many sphere modes running around in it, and you start seeing the Winged Dragon Raw being sided, it really does beg the question of, are we in a good format? Now, in the case of this, I mean, this deck sometimes does care about its normal summon. I mean, getting a gear frame established doesn't matter, or else I'd be like, well, if you're citing the sphere modes and they hand it back to you, then you contribute it for your own Winged Dragon Raw, but that is not really being the case here. But outside of that, that's something hilarious that sticks out to me. Rest of the deck looks absolutely fine. I mean, Earthbox doesn't really change ever. And then we have our hero deck. Alright, 42 cards done here. We're main decking a pointer, that's kind of cool. And of course, Wake Up Your Elemental Hero, finally getting some love down here. We are playing the Dark Angel. We are in a format where negating your opponent's spells does feel incredibly good. We are playing one copy of Dark World no more. I guess it's so we can thrust into it if really need be. I guess it's kind of a little bit of an interesting interaction. Technically, we can thrust on into the pointer as well. That's kind of good. I don't see anything else that looks particularly off of left field here. I think that everything looks really, really good. So what do you guys think? Please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.